This is the biggest moment in Dungeons & Dragons history, and already it looks like things have gone disastrously wrong for Hasbro, the current owner and occupier of Dungeons & Dragons, as a massive scandal has just engulfed their master plan to save D&D. A master plan that has costed millions of dollars, hundreds of thousands of man-hours, and Chris Cox, CEO of Hasbro, even had to get up before 12 p.m. once in order to be seen in the office. Don't laugh, I'm a YouTuber, I know his pain. So what is this huge gambit to save Dungeons & Dragons, and how is it going wrong? Well, it's digital D&D, aka that project that Hasbro are failing to get off the ground since 2008, aka the D&D Beyond virtual tabletop, aka Sigil, aka no need to put pants on for D&D anymore. It's the only thing that Hasbro could talk about last year, and the year before that, and like 20 years ago as well. And this month, digital D&D finally arrived, and yet it might already be dead. But for those who hated the idea of an official digital D&D, they shouldn't celebrate just yet. Because remember those rumors and the insane leaks that oozed out of Hasbro during the OGL scandal? The really crazy ones? Well, we've just discovered that not only were they true, they're actually a whole lot worse. Uh-oh. Is it too late to rescind all my details from D&D Beyond? Well, whatever, my data has already been stolen anyway. And yours has been stolen too. It's just the reality of the internet. It's likely been harvested by many different companies and data brokers that all prowl and operate on the internet. And that's bad, because now you're at an increased risk of identity theft, stalking, harassment, robocalls, and scams. And also, tons of spam emails. Seriously, at one point I was getting dozens of emails every single day. And all because I, in a single moment of weakness, clicked on a link that advertised a free family-sized bucket of chicken for one, all in return for my mother's maiden name and social security number. Not my proudest moment, guys. Not my proudest moment. But now you can take back control of your data thanks to today's sponsor, Delete Me. Delete Me helps reduce the risk of your data getting into the wrong hands by removing your information from the hundreds of different data broker websites. But that's not all. They also actively and continually monitor data broker websites to make sure that your personal information is removed for good. I've used Delete Me to help get my data removed from all sorts of different websites, and it has worked. Also now, I know to never accept chicken from strangers. So protect your data with Delete Me. Delete Me give me a special code so that you can get an extra 20% off all consumer plans. Simply go to joindeleteme.com/DND20 or click the link below and use promo code DND20 at checkout. And thanks to Delete Me for sponsoring today's video. So, Sigil is finally here. It literally just arrived this month. And whether you're skeptical of the new digital VTT from Hasbro or not, it must be admitted that this is a really big moment for Dungeons & Dragons, because Hasbro have been promising that it would change the way we play TTRPGs forever. So, have they been successful? Well, the answer is yes, if what they wanted was to kill Dungeons & Dragons.
Oh, SpaghettiOs!
Okay, well, hold on. Let's roll back on that for a second. So, Sigil is a new virtual tabletop. We have had a bunch of them before in the past. They're designed to facilitate TTRPG games across computers via voice chat and a shared digital table so that you can play a game of D&D or My Little Pony RPG across international lines, which in the case of some RPGs may help limit legal exposure. And while there has been a bunch of different virtual tabletop platforms before, like Tailspire, Fancy Grounds, Owlbear, Roll20, and more, Sigil is massively different, because unlike all those other platforms, Sigil is directly financed and managed by Hasbro, making it the official virtual tabletop for D&D. And this has given them a bunch of advantages. For one, Sigil has access to D&D Beyond and all the millions of user data and characters and homebrew items and that weird fetish elf character that people build when they get too drunk and lonely. Am I right, fellas? But this means that in theory, people that have a D&D Beyond account, and you'll need one to access Sigil, can simply import all their characters into this system and be ready to play. Again, in theory. And on top of all of that, it has had tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of money pumped into it, meaning that it comes with Unreal Engine graphics and little dice that move. That's nice. But also, ultimately, Hasbro are the Tony Soprano of Dungeons & Dragons. They have a lot of anxiety attacks and they like to set goons on people. But also they have an unlimited amount of control over the game and an unprecedented capacity to control how it's experienced. As a result, in theory, Hasbro could really push to make this the default system for playing D&D. They get to say what goes in the text of the very books of Dungeons & Dragons. Hell, they could design adventures to work specifically with Sigil from the get-go. As a result, they have a privileged position to encourage new and existing hobbyists to transition from physical tables to their new digital ones. And Hasbro are trying to do that with little things right now, like creating Baldur's Gate 3 characters and putting them straight into the Sigil, or selling pre-order Golden Dragon miniatures with pre-orders of the new D&D. This is clearly what Hasbro would love to do. And I think that all those advantages made Hasbro executives think that they could potentially dominate the VTT market for D&D going forward, and then use that to force through a ton of monetization strategies for Dungeons & Dragons more broadly. And as a result, for the last few years, Hasbro have been adamant about moving every D&D player over to a digital landscape where they can be monetized more egregiously, saying things like, oh, I don't know, we want digital D&D to be the future of Dungeons & Dragons. So, you know, all of that has people worried. But can it be done? Can Sigil be the future of Dungeons & Dragons? Well, it just launched, and the website for it certainly talks a big game, and as a program, it does look pretty cool graphically. Features-wise, it has a map maker for your game sessions, you can build your own little boards, you can play generic music, though sadly no Freebird. It has a bunch of little 3D monster miniatures for you to represent enemies and political opponents, and it has horses. Lots and lots of horses. It also has a miniature designer built in, so you can actually build how your new wizard or coconut salesman looks like in this new platform. You don't need to use Hero Forge or a third-party tool like Tailspire has to. Tailspire, by the way, probably being like the closest competitor to this system. And it even has an encounter feature where the DM can press a button and then epic battle music plays, and you can move minis around and awkwardly make attacks with them. And they even make little satisfying thwack noises when they strike one another. What more could one want? And that's all before we talk about the entire pre-made adventure mode that this platform offers. There's a full 3-scenario sort of adventure in this giant program, and it's genuinely impressive. There's a tavern, it has a giant scorpion, a helpful adventure journal, if you can get it to work. It's the whole 9 yards. Clearly a lot of work has gone into this pre-made adventure. The only problem for Sigil, though, is that when you actually engage with this system and rip off the Scooby-Doo villain mask, you'll discover that underneath all the beautiful graphics, spell effects, and pre-made adventures is a vomiting frog. Yes, this system looks good for previews and marketing, but right now for games, it's a disaster. It's not ready. It feels closer to an alpha than an open beta. For example, building a character on the platform just kinda sucks. There's not a lot of free options. You can't even play as every single species available in D&D yet, and my players, for one, are very angry about the absence of Goliaths for some reason. And though I was able to recreate the typical character that I play in every game, that's just down to sheer luck and the fact that they're always naked. But just engaging with the system alone feels weird. Rolling the dice is awkward. They'll often shift and shudder for a while before finally releasing their roll. The entire encounter system just feels odd, emphasizing the stop-start nature of D&D play, where everything shudders to a halt for initiative rolls and for combat to begin. But also, there's a problem there because that style of game is so themed to D&D that it limits the use of this program for other games, and yet it still doesn't really present enough value to D&D specific games to make it worth it, in my opinion. I mean, sure, the encounter system sounds cool, but all it does is roll initiative for you, start playing battle music, and do math badly, which is the exact same utility that I can get by simply saying, everyone roll initiative. Okay Google, play the Witcher 3 soundtrack, and now for some mental arithmetic. Oh, I got it wrong. Plus, Sigil is only available on Windows, and that's kinda weird. Overall, it's just a very poor system right now. But look, I have a dark confession to make. In 1986, I accidentally killed a man when a roadside prank on Route 66 went disastrously wrong. There were no witnesses to the event, so I managed to drag the body out to the middle of the Navajo desert. I never learned his name. There, under the pale moon with only God watching, I buried him in an unmarked grave amongst the rattlesnakes. His family never did find out what happened to him, and to this day I know they still hold vigil, in the forlorn hope that he will one day return. but he ain't coming back. But also, I'm not a big fan of virtual tabletop systems, especially not the 3D ones like Sigil or even Tailspire. I'm aware that this makes me an old fogey, which is a very old fogey way of saying that I'm a miserable cunt. But it's just not for me. It's not my scene. My favorite part about RPGs is the imagining and the talking and the communal experience and the role-playing and the immersion. And I find that when I'm trying to get immersed in a game, looking at a 3D digital program like this actually takes me out of the experience rather than immersing me in. I just want to use my imagination. If I wanted a digital version of D&D, I'd just play a video game. And I imagine that there's quite a few people out there who feel the same way as me. But that's it. I get it. I also appreciate that people out there need virtual tabletop systems too. You might be somewhere where no one else plays Dungeons and Dragons, or a political prisoner held hostage by a rival regime, or simply unable to control your masturbation habits while in public. But I must say, in the times that I've had to use virtual tabletops, I tend to prefer to use tools like Roll20 because all I really want is webcams on so I can see your eyeballs and a map of the area so I can see where I'm fighting. Otherwise, I just want to imagine the environment, just like how we'd do at a table in the real world. And the problem I have with Sigil is that it feels like it's trying to do too much. It's trying to recreate the D&D 4th edition dream of a fully realized digital D&D video game experience. And really, that's where a lot of the money that Hasbro have pumped into this thing has gone. But the problem with actually trying to depict all the hair and the armor and the environments of a TTRPG fully rendered all in 3D is that when the system is unable to depict exactly what the player imagines, then it can totally break the immersion. If you're given the option of character creation of having a codpiece, then if it's not the lion-faced codpiece that is central to your character, then that can break the immersion more than having never been offered a codpiece at all and simply saying to other players, "Look at my crotch. Imagine there's a codpiece there." There's not, I'm naked from the waist down, but imagine there was. Ultimately, all I can take from this is that Hasbro want to be Jumanji, and they're trying to Jumanji you into the game. But you cannot Jumanji people, Hasbro. It's already been tried, and Robin Williams stopped it. I mean, I really can't remember Jumanji that well. Don't they time travel at the end? They get like sent back in time, right? They just undo 26 years of history at the end. Actually, if Jumanji were to happen today, we would have 2 years to stop 9/11. Subscribe to the channel for more Jumanji facts. So yeah, Sigil, it's just kind of bad right now, and I can't imagine anyone using it for anything other than sheer novelty at this point. It's just trying to do too much and achieves very little. And on top of the fact that it has no third-party support because Hasbro are going down the proprietary microtransaction path, and you get a pretty tough sale. But don't take my word for it, reviews have started to come in, and they are far more negative than I am. Hasbro is getting ass blasted all over this thing. And already at time of recording this video, there's leaks coming out of Hasbro that the staff working on the VTT are being let go. And frankly, this is a disaster for Hasbro and D&D. I mean, they sank millions and millions of dollars into this thing. Millions of dollars that could have instead went towards dozens of new books and classes for the, you know, actual game of Dungeons and Dragons. Instead, we get this broken system that might never be improved on, and right now it just isn't intuitive or even really that fun to engage with. So then, that begs the question, is this the end of Hasbro's digital dreams after so much investment? Does it all die with Sigil? Well, no, because there is also the other part of Hasbro's plan, the one that was leaked before. You know, AI incorporated into D&D. We're talking AI DMs, generated content, and more. But of course, that's all insane. Hasbro would never do that. They even have a policy that forbids it. No, actually, last week, Chris Cox, the CEO of Hasbro, came out and said they're doing it. Yeah, the insane leaks about AI in D&D and AI DMs during the UGL scandal? I guess that was all true, because Chris Cox just announced that he's a massive AI bull and that AI is apparently good for the brand, because he just said that a subscription for D&D that integrates AI into the game is on the cards. And bear in mind that this is the same guy who just late last year said, quote, "Inside of Hasbro development, we've already been using AI. We will deploy it significantly and liberally internally. But I'm probably more excited about the playful elements of AI. The themes around using AI to enable user-generated content, using AI to streamline new player introduction, using AI for emergent storytelling. I think you're going to see that in not just our hardcore brands like D&D, but also multiple of our brands. I assume that's what he sounds like. So let me just say, what Chris Cox announced here is fucking mental. It's crazy, right? He is confirming that yes, AI DMs are coming eventually, and likely Hasbro are going to write D&D books with AI. I mean, what else can you take from that statement? And for Sigil and digital D&D, it probably goes even further, because it sounds like Hasbro's plans might even be to sell AI-generated assets in an online item store on Sigil or on D&D Beyond, presumably filling such a store with weird gloves that have too many fingers. And this ties into why Hasbro may now be laying off the Sigil team, now that the bare minimum program has been released. Because why pay their wages when AI can take over from here, boys? And this idea might sound crazy, but it's not unprecedented. This has already happened in the video game industry recently, as Call of Duty were just caught selling AI-generated cosmetics. I'm afraid that this might be the future. The horrible, horrible, nightmarish future. And from a certain perspective, I see why they do this, because like me outside of McDonald's at 3 a.m, they are desperate to get their money back. And though it has now come out that Sigil's active development is being sunsetted by Hasbro, I can't imagine there's a world where they just let this thing die. No, I suspect that the AI integration into D&D that's being floated by Hasbro might just find a home in Sigil or in a program very much like it. There's really no other way to say it. Hasbro need new D&D to succeed. They've sunk so much cash into this, and if it doesn't, they're gonna have to return to the big old space dumpster that they first shared with Rita Repulsa and presumably Hulk Hogan. I mean, I assume that's where he came from. I got no other explanation for his existence. I mean, that or they'll just go bankrupt or get rid of D&D altogether, which might end up being the best thing, because if they do introduce this cash item store or an AI marketplace or AI user-generated content and emergent storytelling, whether in the Sigil VTT or in some other program, we have to kind of stop and ask, is playing with an AI chatbot that can roll dice even playing Dungeons and Dragons anymore? Or is it just Neverwinter Nights with a cash shop? Is that really the future we want for Dungeons and Dragons? Because if so, what's even the point in this thing? Well, this video is already way too long to go into that, but don't worry, I'll be talking all about it at Compulsion in Edinburgh starting on Saturday, April 12th at an exciting panel about the future of the RPG hobby. So come check it out. There's a link below. It's gonna be fun. And also check out my Patreon to help support the channel, because my videos keep getting demonetized by YouTube, and it's only with your support that I can cover these stories. I rely on patrons to keep this all going, and also because it's St. Paddy's Day week, and I've been forced to drink green water from my taps as a result, and really I've been too sick to go outside. Wait, green water's only in Chicago. What the hell have I been drinking? And a massive thanks to my patrons, especially CryptoKev, and I'll catch y'all next time. Bye-bye.